Yeah, yeah. If you don't have it
Good
every day,
morning, everyone.
people that
We are now ready
have it
to
every day,
begin the meeting.
but you know. Check, check. All right. Good morning. Welcome to today's special meeting, August 8th, 2025. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 9:06. And can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we get a verification of legal notice? Or do we have that? Verification of legal notice? So legal notice is verified. Moving on to our consent agenda. To approve the minutes of July 24th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting.
So moved.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. And the consent agenda passes. I do have public input before we begin our first timed item. And again, that is an opportunity for the public to speak for 3 minutes regarding anything that is not in today's agenda. So if anybody wishes to speak on something that is not on today's agenda, you're welcome to do so if you approach the podium. And can we check the Zoom room? Okay, nobody in the chambers, nobody in the Zoom room. We'll move on to our first timed item. Our public hearing, consideration of PL 25-112, EIR 24-01, DA 24-01, AM 24-01, GPAP 24-01, GPAP 24-02, RZ 24-01, GPD 24-01, UP 24-05, RZ 24-02, and UP 24-08 for the Guanac Valley Mixed Use Plan Development Project at the locations more fully described in the staff report dated today, August 8th, 2025, for the applicant Lotus Land Investment Holdings, Inc. All right, and staff,
Thank you.
director.
Mireya Turner, Community Development Director. The item before you was originally before this commission on July 24th. We continued, or the commission continued this item to today's date in order to allow for additional time for the commission to review the very robust documents for the project, and also for more commissioners to take to see what we're actually looking at on the ground. A couple things happened in between last meeting and today, and so I just wanted to bring the commission up to speed. We received a letter from the Attorney General's office. Well, actually, the county received a carbon copy of it, but a letter was sent to the applicant from the Attorney General's office, just double checking on a number of items to make sure that this project was in conformance with the settlement agreement that had been reached. In today's packet, you should see the letter of response from the applicant in our supplemental staff report. Additionally, it came to our attention that there were a couple APNs that had typographical errors in them. Those APNs affected the legal notice from and the staff report. They have been updated in the supplemental staff report, I think, and the draft ordinance, and Exhibit A for the draft resolution for the general plan amendment. So just bringing you up to speed so that the Planning Commission knows, and then when the documents go before the board for their approval, they'll be corrected within the document. There were off-site APNs that were reassigned some time ago. The old APNs were 014-430-07 and 09, and the new ones are 014-430-12 and 13. Again, these will be carried forward into our updated documents. One last notice is there was a paperwork error that included the name of the owner of the well site as Lotus Land Investment Holdings, a California corporation, rather than LIH 29 Holdings Corporation. This will be corrected in Exhibit A to the development agreement. And we're currently documents to see if that occurs anywhere else, and if so, we will update those. Lastly, if I could bring your attention to the conditions of approval. Thank you, Commissioner Rosenthal. It was brought to my attention that there was an inadvertent copy and paste error on the last few conditions of approval because they actually deal with cannabis permit, which is not part of this project. So we will strike those and place it before your commission today as amended. I do appreciate you catching that. Thank you. We do have a number of additional representatives on behalf of the applicant here today, specifically to address the Commission's questions from the last meeting and address any further concerns regarding the wildfire and evacuation aspects of this project. So I will, if the chair agrees, I'll turn it over to the MAHA representative, Kevin Case, to start those presentations. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Case, partner with the Mahaman Development Group. We're the developer for the project. Good morning, commissioners and county staff, and we want to thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. Our team is incredibly appreciative of the time and work that each of you have gone into studying these enormous amounts of information. We have focused most of our attention on how the project complies with many areas of the CEQA process, centered around land stewardship, environmental impacts, plants, animals, greenhouse gas emissions, sustainability, and countless other critical components of the development. Today, I'd like to take just a few minutes to focus on the valuable attributes and benefits for the development will bring to Lake County. You will hear this morning from longtime community members that work every day with challenges in the healthcare system, the educational system, the emergency services, recruitment, and other vital systems, which are facing significant challenges, often feeling the strain of limited resources and funding. With the development of Gwinnett, we have an opportunity to make positive changes that will enhance the quality of life for Lake County residents through new and sustainable tax revenue that will support quality education, healthcare, emergency services, and more. Our children and teachers deserve access to quality resources required to inspire and empower for the next generation. Healthcare services through additional funding for this development can expand local healthcare facilities, attract top-tier medical professionals, and help with every resident to access the healthcare that is needed and required. Emergency services, we all know that is the backbone of the community's safety and well-being. Again, with increased funding, we can support our firefighters, law enforcement, ensuring that they have the tools and training necessary to protect us all. This is our chance to turn our aspirations for a better community into reality. We have heard and met with many of the residents who call Lake County home, and we genuinely respect their opinions and their thoughts. We are committed to continuing to listen and to work to better understand their viewpoints and their perspectives. While a very small minority oppose the development or an aspect of it, those individuals bring value to the decisions that are made today and in the future. We welcome this interaction and encourage community members to continue to reach out so we can make meaningful and productive conversations as we all work together to make the area the very best that this can be. As you have heard You will hear from several of my other partners here that this, through the county's review process, this process is more than unique in many aspects. The beauty of the land is the canvas that was entrusted to us to embrace and to be incredibly responsible for all its natural resources and irreplaceable assets. Our vision for the development surpasses the property lines of our property and encompasses all our communities within Lake County, from Middletown, Clear Lake, Lakeport, Kelseyville, Hidden Valley Lake, Upper and Lower Lake, and others, for a thriving and vibrant community for the support our families, our businesses, and our essential services. By supporting this development, we are not investing in new residential and commercial spaces. We are investing in our future. We are laying the foundation for a community that supports our residents, nurtures its children, and provides essential services for all. In conclusion, I ask that each of you consider the long-term benefits of the development, not just for today, but for the future of our county and its individual communities. Together, let us create a more prosperous future for everyone in Lake County. We have a couple people here as well today that Murray had mentioned. Kathleen Cutter is one with UC Berkeley in their fire science division. And so she's here, she'll be presenting. We have a couple other people as well. Joe Runco, who is with SWA. It's an international landscape design firm, really specializing in fire resiliency and from a landscape perspective. Joe's been involved in our project since about the very beginning, back in 2016. So he's here to answer any questions. Bob Grandy is also here, and Bob is with Fear and Pierce. He's a principal there, one of the top traffic engineering firms in the country. They do a lot of work with Caltrans and many of the municipalities as well. So again, really one of their top of their game. So he's here as well that can answer questions and so forth about evacuation or any of the other items that you might have. So, and I think that's it. We have our legal Rob here too. And Thomas Aswell, sorry, Thomas. Thomas and Kathleen both are UC Berkeley and work very closely together. They're a huge, a great teammate, great component of our project. And then, which you'll meet Florent here in just a minute, Florent Gatto, who runs all of our operations, a partner of ours. And then also I'll turn it over to Jonathan Breen, who's our partner as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good morning, Planning Commissioners and Lake County staff. My name's Jonathan Breen, along with Kevin Case and Florent Gatto. We're the partners of Mahaman Development. We're the developer and operator of the Gwinnett Valley project. Since 2016, I've enjoyed spending a lot of time in Lake County. Lake County actually has a very special kind of magic. The land, the air, the remoteness, the way of life, and obviously the people. These are some of the things that actually drew us to this area in the first place. And these have been the principles that have actually inspired our project. The development has been designed in a way that preserves the Lake County way of life in what makes this place special. We are setting a new model for a rural development, one where economic growth, environmental sensitivity, and cultural respect aren't competing values, but work together as one. This project isn't about changing Lake County. It's about deepening and extending what's already here. Everything we're doing is built around this idea. The Gwinnett Valley project is about creating something that belongs to this place. It's why the development of our project will be on less than 10% of the land. So over 90% of this property will be preserved in its natural state, or as vineyards, or as agricultural working lands. The Gwinnett Valley project has never been about bringing something foreign to this place. It's been about asking, what if we could bring the world here in a way that strengthens what's already here? Thank you for allowing me the chance to speak today. I'm now going to walk you through just a short presentation of the project to sort of explain the project in a little bit more detail. How do I get back up? Here we go. The property is 16,000 acres, of which we have 4,200 acres of vineyards and of farmland. So to put that into context, it's 10% of Napa Valley. Napa Valley has over 400 wineries. We have one property and 10% of that is in vineyards, mainly vineyards, PIU land. So for us as a canvas to develop a real estate project, we were very, very fortunate that we had such, obviously the beauty of vineyards is one thing, but in today's world, vineyards are probably one of the best fire protection for any village or housing to be surrounded by the vineyards. So when we started with this project, all of the vineyards, majority of them were already in place. So really what we set about with our team was nestling the project within the vineyards, really for fire safety reasons. So if you look at the other end of the lake, this will be where our village is. So wherever you see brushes, most of those are chaparral and bigger pine trees, which are highly flammable. We'll end up removing those and we will add houses or the village or commercial buildings. And then they will all be surrounded, all those open areas up on the top there are all now vineyards. And so as we continue to develop the project, it just gets safer and safer. So we build a house to complete today's fire specs. We're actually adding additional things like putting sprinklers on the outside of a house with a detection system. So if a fire comes your way, even if you're not at the house, it reads it and then puts a film over a house to protect it. All the landscaping with Joe Runco and his team, we're picking the latest and the best fire-resistant plants and scenery, and working with CAL FIRE and UC Berkeley. We have different zones within the first 5 feet. You cannot have any thing that could burn, and then we have zone 2, zone 1 and zone 2. So all of these things have been planned into this development. This is another good example. So when the vineyards were built over the years, they had rock piles. And the rock piles were, as they dig out where the vineyards are now, it was a lot of rock. So they dug the rocks out and they put them in these piles. What we've been doing and what we'll do going forward is taking those rock piles and using them as aggregate for the roads. And so the current vineyard operation has been using them to use for the roads. So we're reusing all of the materials that's on site, and we will then put real estate houses where you see those rock piles are. So at the end of the day, you'll end up having this pristine of vineyards with these houses nestled into the vineyards. We've got 7 lakes, so we're very fortunate, and a lot of our development's been surrounding these lakes. Another angle, just showing you down the bottom, these will be the hotel. And again, if we have oak trees, we save the oak trees. And we have a plan where if we need to move an oak tree, we root prune it, we leave it there for a couple of months, and we have machines that can pick them up and move them and put them in another prominent area. So the whole plan is whether the rocks, oak trees, other trees, is not trying to destroy anything. So the village itself sits on that big lake that I showed you. The village is open to the public. Okay, so the community can come. Within the village, we will have an auditorium sitting out on this lake where we can do concerts, we can do movies. We've got bocce ball courts, we've got restaurants, we have a farmer's market. So where we could take locals that want to come down and sell their, whether it's agricultural goods or artists. So the whole idea is when we have guests, I think in today's world, when guests travel the world and go to different places, you want to experience that culture. And so one of the things that's very strong in working with Adrian Zecker, who's our chairman, Adrian's developed 110 luxury hotels around the world. And what he's known for is going into these countries and these places, preserving culture. He gets the village people and trains the young kids to work in the hotels. So the whole ethos is when people come here, we want them to know they're in Lake County and feel that they're in Lake County. We don't want to have cookie cutter hotels, so when you go around the world, you feel like you're in an American hotel. That's not the ethos of what the development is about. So this is the village. So again, surrounded by vineyards, orchards, vegetable gardens. It's been designed by Howard Backen and very much in that Lake County barn style architecture. So again, it's got a sense of place. Again, just another view walking through the village with the different shops and restaurants and coffee shops. This is the main reception area. The main barn coming into the overall resort. Again, sheep on either side and cattle. So it's been a cattle and a sheep ranch for over 80 years. So it's again, keeping that heritage as well and making when people come, they really feel that they're in a rural environment of a ranch so they can actually experience it. You have a river running down the edge of the village. This is a vineyard. All the vineyards in this area with the winery, we have a large cave behind here. And in our fire plan, we have actually 5 different refuge points. We call them the temporary refuge points. And we've been working with CAL FIRE and the Sheriff's Department since the beginning. And those are refuge points where if you don't want to, it's up to the sheriff and it's up to CAL FIRE, but if they don't want to evacuate people from the property, they can bring them to these things. So people could be in the cave. We'll have, if it's smoky outside, we'll have vents and that systems inside. So they could be in there until they determine that it's safe to take people from the property, or you leave them on the property and you wait for the fire to come by, and then they can be released. So that's always up to a sheriff's call, but one of the things, a lot of options. So in event of a fire, as we know, fires can change with directions of wind, and so the more options that the team have, the better it is and safer it is. This is another refuge point. This is the polo and equestrian and horse area. It's probably 100 acres of beautiful grassland. So right at the below, we're building this lake, and right below that is the polo clubhouse. So again, people could drive their cars onto the fields here and utilize the clubhouse, which will be designed and built to complete fire specifications and have water and food. So this is probably one of our main refuge points, and we have another 4 others throughout the property. So the polo clubhouse was right there up in the top on the left of the lake. On the right is the stables, and then the pony camp, and then some equestrian down below here. It's the stables. Looking over from the clubhouse over to the fields. So you can just see the expansive fields, and again, one of the things that, working through from a fire point of view is that this is always, again, what CAL FIRE and the sheriff said in the past, they don't have a lot of refuge points through Lake County because it's very hilly. So when they came out and been working with us over the years, due to the scale of the vineyard operation and these other areas, it definitely gives them a lot of options to be able to use. This is sort of just some of the style.
Oh,
Bless you.
thank you.
And then we have another section where we have a golf course. So Tom Doak, he's designed 8 of the top 100 in the world. He's actually known as a naturalist golf course, and what that means is they don't bring in the big D9s and just do a man-made golf course. He takes the nature and the way it is and designs the golf course through that. And so what he's designed is a golf course that actually doesn't come back. It just meanders through the property and ends up 7 miles away. And so this is another refuge point. This is the first clubhouse. And because we have, again, a huge area of open grassland and all of the around will be vineyards, again, we've designed this as another refuge point for another spot on the property. And on the 18th, with the end of the golf course, we also have that as a refuge point. This is the 18th. We've taken an old barn and modeled it, and obviously with horses and sheep, again, to have that country feel. How do I get this done? I think just, yeah, thank you. Again, we got an independent company to come in and to do a report of the economic benefit this project would show. So what they did was they looked at over 25 years. The earlier years are more construction and then goes into permanent. And so the summary, and we have a report if you ever want to see it, we can give it to you. $3.8 billion of economic benefit will be generated into Lake County. That is broken down into $2.47 billion in labor through jobs. $635 million will come in local taxes, and $212 million will come in state taxes. After 10 years, after we've sold real estate and then they start building houses and they start paying real estate taxes, there's 20 to 22 million per year coming into Lake County for new property taxes. Again, which can support healthcare, education, public safety, and any fire infrastructure. Over the 25 years, they looked at the scaling of the earlier years will be more construction jobs, and then over time it goes back into and stays as permanent. The summary was that there's 2,688 jobs created per year. And so in the earlier years, that will be probably higher because of construction. And then once you take away the construction, then you'll just have a steady stream of permanent jobs really forever. So again, I want to turn it over to my partner, Florent Gatteau. Florent and I have worked together for 28 years when we created the Satai in Miami Beach. Florent ran the hotel and all the operations. Adrian, Florent, and myself have worked together for 28 years. So Florent will be running all of the operations for the project, and he's the one with programs and training, and so I'm going to have him say some words today. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Pleasure to be here. Thank you. My name is Frank Gatteau. I'm a partner with Mahaman, like Jonathan said, in charge of the operations. So they do the wonderful stuff. I change sheets and wash dishes. With hospitality, in regards to hiring and training for the Kennebec Valley Project, one of the first things we're committed to is the local hiring. We're especially focused on supporting our local team members and that the younger generation will be able to build meaningful futures without having to leave home. Dedicated hiring and training program will be hosting job fairs approximately 6 months before the opening date, then 3 months, and then currently going into a training program. In reality, a job is only as valuable as the support behind it. That's why, as part of the project, we'll build a professional training system that gives people the tools to success for long-term growth. Every team hire will be access to free high-quality training, starting with a 4 to 8 week foundation, hospitality, guest training, and land-based practices. And then for those team members that want to go further, we'll be extending our internal programs with our international partners. So those will be 6 months to 18-month partnerships with resorts around the world for people that want to get additional growth throughout. We want to build careers, not just fill roles, and we want to make sure that the people welcoming our guests to the Valley are the ones that actually know and love it. We are believers in the spirit of connection at the heart of any great hospitality expression, and that the spirit of connection carries into everything else that we are planning. All of our food, all of our beverage will be, for our restaurants and markets, will come from right here, sourced from nearby farmers, producers, and or grown on site on our farms and gardens, building a steady, meaningful partnerships with our local farmers, ranchers, and artisans. The same goes for our creative and cultural life of the project, as Jonathan showed you, our wonderful little fresh village and market where we will be hosting local counties, music, craft, and where the history can shine. We have live music, film screenings, cultural events throughout the whole year that will be featured and open to the public. We'll also feature regional artists alongside internationals to create space for Native American voices and stories to be seen and heard in a lasting and a respectful way. Everything we do is guided by a deep commitment to our team members, land stewardship, and to ensure the safety of our team members and for our guests. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Kathleen Cutter. I am here with Berkeley, but what I really am is I'm a wildfire mitigation specialist. That is my profession. I work for Marin Wildfire, which, and I'm also a Marin Master Gardener. I'm here today because, well, I should also give a little bit of background. I was a firefighter for the Santa Fe National Forest back eons ago. I was an archaeologist, but I had the good fortune of being able to fight fires for the forest across the western United States. So I've experienced big fire. I'm here today because Marin Wildfire was a county, or is a county that has a lot of wealth, and they decided to tax themselves because they know they needed to be a fire-adapted society. They needed to build, the community already exists, and they needed to build in that fire resiliency. But it's already laid out, and to do the work that they needed to do is kind of like the horse is already out of the barn, and but there's some really fantastic work that's being done. When I was asked to come on this project to kind of review what the project was building out, what Ganok was building out, I was at first a little skeptical, honestly, because I thought this is a big project. But I've just been amazed at how responsive they've been, and they kind of are, the reason why I agreed to come on board is because they were willing to listen to fire personnel. They were willing to listen to what the community had to say, and to me that's really super important. Another reason why Marin Wildfire came into being was because of the environmental proponents of just keeping, you know, firefighters are reputed to be like people just like, let's moonscape, let's just, you know, have nothing but buildings and everything else around it is gone. That's not the case. We need to have the environment still intact. And this project is really trying to do that. But as a fire personnel, I can tell you what I'm really excited about is because they're building fire resiliency into the community, and that has a spill out effect beyond the actual resort. For me, one of the things I'm most excited about that I haven't heard touched upon definitely today is what I'm hoping to be is like the fire foundry. We in Marin have a fire foundry where we are inviting people who don't have access to becoming firefighters, people who are underserved, underprivileged, just don't have the connections. Being a firefighter, it takes a lot of connections. You have to know how to get in. You have to know how to navigate that. And this program invites people into a work program. It develops careers. You take classes. You have housing. And what you can do is you know, they will do they do vegetation management for us. They become EMTs, they become the firefighters. It's an onboarding for people who normally just don't have that opportunity in a different career than the maintenance and the landscaping and the housekeeping and the hospital avenue that they're presenting here and the construction. All very important, but to me, my heart is where the fire is, right? So this is really exciting for me. The fact that they're building a fire department on site, that is huge. The ability to have temporary areas of refuge for residents is huge because these are things that are going to improve response time. They're going to, you're going to have 24/7 staffing. And that's not just going to be responding to what's happening on Gwinnett Valley. It's going to be outside that. So the response time, it's a game changer, in my opinion. Just having that personnel right there, having the early detection, have the evacuation routes all built out. This is all, it's intrinsic in the entire community, and it goes beyond. So these are things that I'm really excited about. Another thing that we don't have in Marin, which I think is really essential, is they have, rather than an opt-out, they have an you have to opt into our emergency alert. Here you have to opt out. So not only are the residents are going to be aware of what's going on and what they're going to have that instruction right there. Where are you going to go? Are you going to stay? Are you going to go? And as Kevin was saying, that it's part of the the sheriffs and the CAL FIRE is going to be there directing it. So there's going to be planning. The development has really asked us as fire personnel, how do we want it? What do we want? The home hardening and the defensible space around each of the communities, the vegetation management is very well thought out environmentally, and also just integrating what's already here, which is grazing and just working with the community, what we already have, the vineyards, green belts. It's all orchestrated in such a way that, this is kind of a dream thing for me to even be a part of. So I'm really excited to be a part of this team, and I'm excited about the potential for Lake County. When I was a kid, I used to come up here and camp on the lake, and both in the private and the public camping grounds, and I brought my kids here. This is a very special place, and we wanted to continue, and I just think that there's some opportunities here that I'm super excited about. I'm just glancing over my notes to see if anything. At any rate, thank you very much for the opportunity to allow me to speak today.
Thank you. Seeing that we had the presentations from the applicants, Director, I'm just looking for a little guidance. That was the only presentations that we were going to receive today from the applicants, right?
I do think that does complete
Okay.
the presentations for today.
All right, so moving on to the next part of our meeting, since the public made their time to come out here and speak and took their time out of their day to be here today to listen to any new information or give us new information. So I'd like to open up public comment for this portion of the project. So if you'll be given 3 minutes. I do have a little sign here as a reminder to let you guys know to print your name for the record, because I guess we forgot to do that last time. Thank you, Danae. So with that being said, public comment is now open. So whoever would like to speak, you can approach the podium.
Julia Bono. Dear Planning Commission, as a long-term Middletown resident and minister of the Rainbow Church of Living Light located in Middletown's downtown core, I am again coming before you to oppose vehemently the rezoning of APN 014-380-09 from R1 to R2 to a 283-bedroom worker dormitory for the nearby planned Maha-Gwinnett Valley project. While the church does not oppose the project at its site 3.5 miles down the road, it vehemently opposes this worker dormitory. The Middletown worker dormitory proposal stands in stark contrast to the established single-family residential character of our historic small town. It is incompatible with the scale, infrastructure, and safety expectations of our unusually tight-knit community. To be specific, population shock. With 283 bedrooms, this dormitory facility could increase Middletown's population by a massive 30 to 50% or more in its first phase alone, without the incremental integration afforded by traditional housing. 2, zoning conflict. R1 zoning reflects our community's strong preference for low-density, family-compatible housing. Changing to R2 to accommodate an employer-controlled dormitory, which is effectively commercial land use in a residential zoned area, sets a very troubling precedent that cunningly attempts to bypass the Middletown Area Plan's purpose. 3, evacuation hazards. Wildlife evacuation in our region is already tenuous. This project inserts hundreds of potentially carless and careless workers into a tight street grid adjacent to school routes. No evidence has been provided of evacuation modeling under red flag fire conditions. 4, infrastructure strain. Dormitories like this carry unique demands for water, wastewater, emergency services, lighting, and parking. Without documented capacity verifications and clear mitigation, approval would be absolutely premature and unsafe for our town. Middletown residents have already been unjustly burdened by having their sewer rates more than doubled to pay for an otherwise unnecessary sewer system expansion to accommodate this huge worker dormitory project, when this cost should properly have been borne by the developers. 5th, land use policy. The ordinance and accompanying documents claim general plan and area plan consistency, yet the neighborhood character, intended density, and residential pattern of this planned worker dormitory contradict this assertion. I thus respectfully urge you to deny the rezone and ask the applicant to locate worker housing elsewhere out of town, and ideally on their own expansive 16,000-acre project site, where intensity and operations can be internally
That
managed
is the 3-minute mark, if you would like to just close.
without burdening downtown Middletown. Failing to do so will result in further escalation of this matter as we explore and employ additional legal options to protect our town from irresponsible overdevelopment. And we are not a small minority. I am speaking for the vast majority of the residents of Middletown. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment.
Carlos Bono for the Rainbow Church of Living Light. Dear Planning Commissioners, I write to you again today not just as a minister of the Rainbow Church, but as a good neighbor and someone who cherishes the unique and historic spirit of Middletown. I need to let you know that I and many of my fellow Middletown residents are deeply troubled at the proposed rezone of APN 014-38009 to build a massive worker dormitory right in the heart of our little town. This isn't just a technical zoning issue, it's a matter of community integrity and safety given the massive wildfires that have ravaged our town in the recent past. When I look at this proposal, I picture 283 bedrooms located just blocks from our town's schools, churches, libraries, parks, and single-family homes. Just phase 1 of this development alone could mean 500 or more new residents, suddenly woven into our tiny historic town of roughly 1,100 people. Not slowly, not organically, but shockingly all at once with serious cultural, infrastructure, and safety impacts. Have you ever stood at Santa Clara Road at dusk, heard the birds, seen the kids riding their bikes? The street just isn't built to absorb shift-based transit vans, nighttime lighting, and the turnover of an industrial-scale dormitory operation like this that is actually far more commercial than residential in nature. Middletown is our sanctuary, not just for our church, but also for our neighborhood, our rhythm, our small-town way of life. Approving this commercial worker dormitory sets a dangerous precedent that tells future developers, you don't need to build with Middletown in mind. I ask you now with full sincerity, do not let this be the moment that Middletown loses its soul. Reject the rezone now and request the resituation of this facility outside of downtown Middletown. With prayer, hope, and steadfast love for our small town, sincerely, Carlos Bono. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Do we have any hands in the Zoom room? Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you, and County staff. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here. My name is Mike Pickens. I'm a district rep for the Operating Engineers, Local 3, largest construction union in North America. We represent heavy equipment operators, mechanics, surveyors, testing and inspection folk, and I'm here today to speak on behalf of the Gwinnett Valley Project. As you know, residents in this community have a hard time making a living wage with great benefits and an opportunity to retire with dignity. We at the Operating Engineers strive to, excuse me, strive to find projects for our members that live up in these remote, beautiful communities. Excuse me. Allergies are killing me today. Many of our members are lucky enough to find work up here locally with some of our local contractors, but a majority of our membership drive 2 to 3 hours a day down to the valley floor to find work so they can come back and live in this beautiful community. To them, it's not an option to move down to the valley or to Santa Rosa, to Oakland, to Fairfield, where work is plentiful. They were born and raised in this community. They love this community. This is their home. They want to be able to throw some bikes in the back of the pickup truck and go hit the trails, go fishing, go hunting, and right out on the lake. This project and its 8-year build-out provides that opportunity for our membership to have a local job close to their community where they can build something to be proud of. They can tell their grandkids, we built that project, and at the time, it was a state-of-the-art, most fire-resilient project in Northern California. The developer has been over backwards. We've been on them since day one. When we got wind of this project, we worked with the contractors on it to tool up and really get the amount of workforce they're going to need locally here to build this project. It's been a very long and hard-fought battle for our membership. I can sit here and touch on the same thing that you've heard everybody speak out. You know, it's great. It's a great boon for the community. It's going to bring in a lot of tax revenue, and we believe that. I also believe that it's going to provide an excellent opportunity for the youth in the area that we really struggle to recruit for the operating engineers and the trades, to get into our programs, to get an apprenticeship. College isn't for everybody. Wasn't for me. It wasn't for, you know, a lot of people in the construction industry, but a union apprenticeship program provides the opportunity for youth to really find themselves a career where they can make a decent living and raise a family in their community. So I ask you to please support this project and move it forward. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
I'm short. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I'll try to remember to write my name down. Put that over there. My name is Kate Schmidt-Hopper. I'm speaking here as an individual citizen of Lake County and not representing any organization. I have 2 points. One, there's a measure about ag land mitigation of over 300 acres that are irreparably harmed by this project. And I support the project. I think there's a lot of good in this project. However, loss of ag land is very important to me. And I think that a mitigation that can occur up to 100 miles away from Lake County is ill-advised. And please do your 300 plus acres of mitigation on the property. That would be much better. Thank you very much. My other point speaks to traffic safety. We have had a lot of work on evacuation, which is fantastic. I think your plans are great. I know that in Lake County we've got dollar signs in our eyes. We're quite excited about this from the jobs point of view and from the revenue point of view. However, Caltrans has sent 3 letters, one on April 12th and September 3rd of 2024, and on May 2nd, most recently on 2025. These went to Ms. Laura Hall, and they were from Jesse Robertson. So there are problems with traffic congestion that have not yet actually been addressed completely. There is a problem at Butts Canyon Road, which will be an evacuation route. And currently Caltrans does not have funding secured for a roundabout there. And the ability of the state routes 29 and 175 to convey large volumes of traffic during evacuations is limited, and funding to expand highway capacity is not expected to be available within the foreseeable future. This is a quote from the letter. To ensure safety, 1, construct a project-funded roundabout on Butts Canyon. 2, there should be paved shoulders on all the evacuation routes. So this would be Butts Canyon Road, Grange Road, the intersection and that section of Highway 29, which Caltrans will mitigate. So I was at this Caltrans open house yesterday. This Middletown middle phase of the project that they are working towards is considers this Butts Canyon, and it's completely unfunded at this point. So we need to address these issues. And so my question is, when will the intersection safety and operational assessment process and the quality management assessment process be completed? And has the applicant made the required deposit to Caltrans for the collaboration on the QMAP review? Thank you very much. I'll try my minute.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, I'm Charles Morse. I gave you my spiel last time about due diligence and all that stuff, and I'm not going to do it again. I think the Department of Agriculture and everybody else, they should know what's going on with this project and get it vetted. And if it does, $125 million, I think we can't deny that that's going to be a lot of money and help us a lot. My concern is, as a elected member of the math board, I was elected based on the fact that I would like to see Santa Elena Creek survive and grow, because the town was built on that creek, and it, you know, right now, as we see it, there's no water on the, in it. It basically dried up around the first part of June. One of the things we do as Santa Elena United, which is a group on Santa Elena Creek, is we make sure we preserve the salmon. We try to keep the salmon and the steelhead alive. I would like to say that according to Sacramento Superior Court hearing case 515766, a big part of those salmon being able to make it up to where I live is good stewardship of the creeks, and most notably Pewter Creek. And being as how it's one of the few places in Lake County where we actually had a salmon run up until about until right around 1906, and it was a primary part of the Native American diet and everybody else who lived here. I would love to see that happen again. I think if they want to be part of the game and they want to be part of the team, we would like to see our creek in Middletown restored, and I would like to see some cooperation with getting the salmon, at least bringing them up and let them do their spawning in Santa Elena Creek, and then when the winter rains come, they make their way down to Berryessa, and then from Berryessa, hopefully, if there's enough rain, they'll make their way down through the Glory Hole and down into the ocean. There is a program out of UC Davis that does do that. I would like to see it, and I think it's part of our history. It's part of who we are, and there's a good chance that, folks are gonna, promise us, jelly beans and hummingbirds, and then, the environment's gonna take a bigger hit because somebody wants a golf course or just doesn't give a damn about a fish swimming through the creek. I've seen it too many times. I grew up in Napa, a beautiful creek just like ours. It died. It died for a country club. And everybody and their brother said it wasn't me. So the lying will get bigger, and the environment will die. I think that if they practice what they preach, God bless them. They can be part of the team. We would like to have a salmon festival in Middletown, right there around Perry's Diner, and actually have some water in the creek year-round, so that we don't have to go into the puddles and save them from the dope growers and everybody else who do that. I've talked to the Native American community. They love the idea. They want to do it, but it takes a lot of effort. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And I'm going to take 2 hands in the Zoom room in the meantime. All right, guest, please state your first and last name, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, commissioners. My name's Angela Emerald. A couple things I wanted to comment on is, one is the workforce housing And I believe Director Turner pointed out at the last meeting that the workforce housing rezone is appropriate because currently the zoning would allow for more housing to be built than what Gwinnett is proposing today. Having the housing located in downtown would allow for people to live within walking distance of schools, stores, and other facilities. Children would be able to ride their bikes to school, reducing the number of vehicles on the road. Putting the workforce housing out at the project site would only increase the daily traffic throughout town. I would like to hear about a commitment that some of the housing would be built that's proposed will be offered at below market rate for first responders and teachers. The other thing is the farmland conservation, I believe, should occur on the property site. And if it cannot occur on the property, it should be limited to conservation within Lake County. The current proposed 100-mile radius for conservation does very little to protect prime ag soils within Lake County. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. And we had another hand in the Zoom room. Rebecca Harper, please state your first and last name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Rebecca Harper, and I'm here on behalf of the Lake County Farm Bureau. Since the last Planning Commission meeting, I've had the opportunity to meet with representatives of the Gwinnett Valley Project, along with our County Agricultural Commissioner, and I appreciate the development team's willingness to engage in some constructive dialogue and address many of the concerns that we raised in our previous public comments that were most pressing to the Farm Bureau have been meaningfully addressed, and we value that responsiveness. I also want to acknowledge that based on the information shared, a very minimal amount of the agricultural land that's proposed for rezoning will be intensively developed. The majority will remain in ag use or be devoted to uses such as polo fields, which can be compatible with surrounding agricultural activities. That said, I would like to bring forward one outstanding concern. The current mitigation measure that allows the project to offset the loss of agricultural land by implementing ag production on other parcels within 100 miles is too broad. We believe that mitigation should be limited to land within Lake County, not necessarily on the project, but within Lake County. This would ensure that the ag benefits remain here, supporting our local economy, preserving our rural character, and reinforcing the county's long-term agricultural viability. As an aside, I would also like to highlight a very positive idea that emerged during our discussions: the potential for a processing facility to serve the project's livestock operations. I strongly encourage the investors to explore this further. A facility of this kind would not only benefit the Gwinnett Valley Project, but would also create significant opportunities for Lake County livestock producers by reducing processing bottlenecks and adding value locally. Thank you for the opportunity to follow up and for your continued attention to ensuring that this project is developed in a way that aligns with Lake County's agricultural future.
Thank you for your comment. And I had a person here in chambers that wanted to speak.
Hi, my name is Brian Fisher. I'm the Executive Director of Visit Lake County, the Tourism Improvement District for Lake County. And I wanted just to talk in support of this project. As many of you probably already know, tourism is the #1 industry in the state of California. And I go to many, many meetings throughout the state, and the fastest growing category of tourism is actually in the luxury space. I'm also extremely familiar with what we have in Lake County to offer at this point, and I would have to say that luxury is the category that we have zero of. So I think as an economic driver for the county, we all know in hospitality that for every $1 somebody spends in a hotel room, they're going to spend another $3 elsewhere. That this is just like a game changer for our industry here in terms of tourism, which the county has identified as a #1 industry to grow. And it's also a game changer just long-term for the county. And the people that will be visiting will one day become residents. And there's plenty of obviously residents on the property. But I think it's, I work around with our local counties, Mendocino, Del Norte, and Humboldt. And a project like this is like once in a lifetime. It is really a beautiful looking project from everything I've read and seen. And I just think it's time for Lake County to lead. And I know it's hard, but I think it's time for us to lead. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And don't forget to write your name on the board if you did already. Thank you. This is all for Danae to make her job a little easier.
Hi, Planning Commission. My name is Don Smith. I'm the Director of Wellbeing and Community Engagement for a healthcare organization here in our county that is responsible for a large percentage of the population of this county. Part of my role is a collaboration to generate collaboration across organizations, government agencies within our county, school districts, healthcare, other healthcare organizations, to, on a 3-year basis, do what's called a community needs assessment. And that is where we've just completed our 2025, and it's probably one of the most expansive healthcare assessments where we work with groups across our county and have discussions, and then we do surveys from people on the ground and try to decide what are the highest healthcare needs for our county. And then we prioritize those needs, and each organization can choose how they can impact those needs. I say that, I bring that up because this is what's called upstream kind of proactive healthcare, right? And I'm also here, I represent this organization as currently I'm the president of the Lake County Chamber of Commerce. Why? Because we understand that economic opportunities is important to the overall well-being of a community. Opportunities. One of the things that we find in these interviews and surveys is kind of a low-grade kind of malaise and kind of a low-grade hopelessness. That we live in a county that if you drive around the county, you see visually what the past was. You drive around this county and I remember one of the first time I drove through this county, I wondered what was the past that was here. And the past was, this was the place. I run into people often. Someone just shared that she would come here with her children. I've talked to people who came here, they saw this was the resort area, right? That they would come here for years, so there's this past that people keep talking about. But people currently in the present are walking through what can be despairing, and what is on the psyche can be despairing. And what we find in healthcare is overall well-being, built infrastructure, social determinants of health are key, but also inspiration, opportunity. That yes, you are a community that deserves good things, nice things. You are a population that is worthy of opportunities. So I come to you in support of this project
That
from an
is
economic
the
perspective.
3-minute time, if you would like to make a closing statement.
From an economic perspective, and one of the issues that's around healthcare is access to care. And this would be a great opportunity. Recruitment, access to care is highly jeopardized by our inability to recruit professionals. This is an opportunity for us to expand and promote and bring in some of the top professionals to continue to provide access to health care in our county. So we're in support of this, and we look forward to it happening.
Thank you for your comment. Do we have any more hands in the Zoom room? All right, no hands in the Zoom room. We got someone here in chambers. And just another reminder, please state your first and last name for the record. And
good morning again, Max Hopkins. I won't rehash everything I said last time other than to say I appreciate the hard work that you do. I occupied one of those chairs for about 8 years, and I know how taxing and laborious it can be, so thank you for your hard work. I just wanted to ask everyone to step back and look at the overall picture. I've been in real estate and real estate development professionally for, well, I don't want to say how long, but my entire adult life. And I don't think I've ever seen a project that is nothing short of a miracle. The folks here proposing this project are so willing to work with the community. They're talking about interjecting $3 billion, that's billion with a B, dollars, into the local economy. We're talking about training programs. We're looking at opportunities to educate our young people here. What a fantastic opportunity all around. Now, it's not to say that you as commissioner shouldn't take a jaundiced eye and carefully vet all the aspects of this project. I know doing so is daunting, but nonetheless, I'd encourage you not to lose sight of the big picture. This is nothing short of a godsend. I would like nothing more than not only to relocate my entire family here. I have 4 children, but I also want to start raising my grandchildren here. I remember bringing the youngsters up here back when Konocti Harbor was still an active resort. We loved it here. This was a fantastic area, and I think it can easily be a fantastic area again. But we need to take a real positive approach. I mean, the developers here have been phenomenally patient. They've done everything asked of them, and now is really the crunch time. No organization has the budget or the patience to continue indefinitely. No organization or developer can answer every possible desire, wish, or need of the community. But these folks have done a yeoman's job in trying to take care of everybody. So again, to close, I'd really encourage you to look at the big picture. Please, please, please support this project. I don't think anything like this will ever come along again. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comment.
Good morning, Commissioners. Shannon Sanders, Middletown. Given it a lot of thought, I really support this project because I believe it does add balance to the county and to the community. Every county needs open space, it needs homes, but it also needs responsible development, and most importantly, it needs jobs. And right now, I think you could make an argument, probably a pretty good argument, that we're a little bit out of balance. There's low job opportunities, and as a consequence, young families and young folks are leaving the area, which is understandable. There's a lot of benefits. I don't want to reiterate everything, but the fire safety element, the funds for community services, new fire station. Also, a little statistic that I looked up. The county currently has approximately 120,000 acres of ag land, out of which only about 16% or 19,000 acres are in cropland. Just an interesting fact. I think it's a good idea to scrutinize this project, obviously, but it's also good to reflect on what the current situation is. And I know when a community doesn't have job opportunities, it runs the risk of losing young folks, young families. And there's probably nothing more corrosive than to lose the young people in a community. So I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Larry Galupe. I'm Vice Chairman of Middletown Rancheria. I'm also a tribal elder for my tribe that is in Middletown. My tribe has been there a very, very long time in southern Lake County. I support this project. And I know we've been talking with the developer about cultural sensitive sites in that property. It's very important for my tribe. It's very important for all the tribes here in Lake County that conversation continues. I know there's villages out there. Our old villages are out there, and we want them protected. It's very important to my tribe this happens, but I'm very excited about the opportunity of what could happen here for Lake County too. excuse me. I just happened to go to Park City, Utah over the weekend, and it blows my mind that the Olympics are coming there for the winter. The development that is happening there is astronomical. It's beautiful. It's being set in beautiful locations. The opportunities there for work is tremendous, and I hope that's what happens here. Another thing that I think about this project is when it was first announced and we met at the Gwinoc Winery after the Valley Fire. There was $1 million check presented to Hammers for Hope for our county on that day. Right then I knew in my heart these people were serious about the people for Lake County to help them. So I hope that this project moves forward because I can see the project helping our county. Thank you very much for your time and opportunity. Again, my name is Larry Galuppi, Vice Chairman of Middletown Rancheria. I'll sign yours.
Yeah, thank you for your comment. Do we have any new hands in the Zoom room? No hands in the Zoom room? Chambers? I was just making sure we didn't have any new hands, but.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Planning Commissioners and staff. Margot Kambara, Lake County resident, not representing a group. This morning, I sent a public comment to your commission. The following remarks are from my email. The Gwinoc Valley project could be very positive for Lake County. Ideally, the project, county, and community will find a way to move forward in a mutually beneficial way. With a little more time and attention to serious deficiencies on the project's wildfire prevention measures, these and other concerns may be resolved in a mutually beneficial way. To improve public safety, please consider this suggestion. Instruct staff to add mitigation for the project's mitigation measure 3.13.1, implement improvements to SR 29 and Butts Canyon Road. Mitigation is needed for delayed, reduced, or failed funding for the roundabout plan for SR 29 and Butts Canyon Road, a project mitigation measure. Caltrans will request funding for the roundabout and Butts Canyon Road in October. There is risk if funding for the project's mitigation measure falls through or is late. Allowing project occupancy prior to the installation of the roundabout is not prudent. The project's design aesthetic is elegant and beautiful, creating land-inspired, low-impact developments celebrating nature. Yet in Phase 1, up to 308 acres of oak woodlands and blue oak savanna can be impacted. In Phase 1, removal of up to 325 acres of farmland, especially prime and unique farmlands, causes concern in Lake County, an agricultural county. Perhaps the number of acres impacted can be reviewed and reduced. If not, please consider limiting the rezoning request at this time. Specifically, limit the request to rezone parcels to Phase 1's almost 3,000 acres, leaving current zoning designations on the remaining 13,000 project acres, protects parcel zoned agriculture from developmental sprawl. As the project develops plans for the future phases, rezoning, if desired, can be requested at that time. This aligns with Middletown Area Plan Special Study Area, Lane Tree Gwenoc's direction on preserving farmland and conservation of natural resources. Again, with additional time and attention, these concerns may be addressed to the mutual satisfaction of stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Do we have anybody else in the chambers that wishes to speak? And, all right, we have one in the chambers. And there's no new hands in the Zoom room, not yet, okay.
How y'all doing today? not very good at speaking in public. I'm a small business owner in Middletown.
Could you just state your first and last name? for the record?
Shane Stanger.
Thank you.
Small business owner in Middletown. And I do a lot of fire prevention around the area. And I got a family of 4, 6 of us all together with my wife. And times are tough right now. This would be great opportunities to keep young couples in the area. If not, well, got to look at a new state to live in. It's getting too expensive. But for my family, my grandparents lived in Lakeport for 40 years. I've been here almost 20. And I would love to raise my children here, but with diminishing work and it's getting harder and harder. So with that, I would love to see this project go forward so we can raise our children in a positive community. And with that being said, that's all I got to say.
Thank you for your comment. One last look around before we close public comment. And seeing no hands in the chambers or hands in the Zoom. Oh, one came up. All right, speaker, state your first and last name for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Lin Zichen, and I'm a reporter with Lake County News. I want to ask a question. So as of yesterday, the Center for Biological Diversity and California Native Plant Society reached an agreement with the developer, which says it will permanently preserve 3,717 acres of the project site. I'm wondering what that means for the project and for the county, and how that will affect your commission's decision making. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment and your question. It was a little hard to hear, but I was able to pick some of that up.
Conservation question that the reporter just posed. Okay, and then other than that, I'm happy to answer other questions or help bring up members of the team as appropriate. My name's Rob Hodel with Cobblins, Patch, Duffy, and Bass. We're attorney representatives of the applicant. And the settlement agreement that was just entered into indeed does protect over 3,000 acres. It's being done through the imposition or the recording of conservation easements over those areas of the project, which mean that they will not be developed as part of this project and preserved in perpetuity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before you sit down, Chair, may I ask a question?
Of course.
So there was an agreement that was also reached, as we were made aware of in the July 24th meeting, an agreement in regard to the off-site well for the project, an agreement between the applicant and Calliope Water, and I was just wondering if you could speak to that as well.
Sure, that's correct. There was an agreement made that would, well, it's a term sheet that outlines a framework for the agreement. The Water District Board still needs to approve an actual purchase and sale agreement and do any additional environmental review that would be required, because under the terms of the agreement, they would be able to use groundwater from that site throughout to service their customers throughout the district, as well as provide, if the project applicant constructs a pipeline, to provide water potentially to the project site as well. So that's a term sheet. It outlines a framework for a transfer of a 1 acre portion of the well site to the district, but there's additional decision making, which would, hopefully and ideally, and as executed in that term sheet, adhere to that framework to help make that transaction helpful down the road after this CEQA process and any additional CEQA process that the Water District feels it needs to conduct are completed. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity to answer these questions.
Thank you. And if the applicants had picked up any questions from the public that you guys would like to answer, you have the opportunity to do so if you wish.
Just to talk about the 325 acres of the agricultural.
State your first and last name for the record.
Jonathan Breen for the applicant. So what we have been talking about, and we'll put it in as a a project commitment, is that we will try to offset any of that mitigation on site. If we can't do that on site, we will do that within Lake County. And if we can't do that within Lake County, we would do it within the 100 miles. So we are definitely, and we feel that we can do it on site. And again, as we explained, the full mitigation, if you look at the plans of our project, we are not taking out that amount of acreage. We're actually taking an area which you saw earlier where we might have 20 acres of vineyards and we're putting a 1 acre house. So we've actually got in the plan that full 20 acres, but we're not taking that out of agriculture. So at the end of the day, it's a much smaller amount of acreage. And when we sat down and explained that to the Farm Bureau and went through that, they were more satisfied. And then that was the question, can you try to mitigate that on the property? It was put in as a worst case scenario, but we said, absolutely, we want to do mitigation on our property. But if we can't, because if you look at the farm map for Lake County, there's not a lot of the unique when you go through it all. So we said, listen, we will try to do it on property. If not, we will then do it within Lake County. And if not, 100 miles. And I don't believe we'll ever need to go to the 100 miles, but it was put in as a conservative amount.
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm not understanding this concept of mitigation. I mean, in my mind, prime farmland is prime farmland, and there's only a certain amount of it in existence. Do you go somewhere else in Pluto or something and create new? I mean, I'm just not understanding it. Maybe you can explain it to me.
Yeah, so Marley, so if you have a look back at the old maps of which is done by Lake County, back in the earlier maps, don't show any of the unique and prime farmland on our property because back then it was chaparral and rocks. So what happened was, that was not done by us, it was done by the vineyards operator. They dug out all of that and replaced the rocks and all of the chaparral and put in vineyards. So if you look at the latest map, it actually shows you on the property that the prime farmland and unique farmland has increased because we've taken out rocks land and now replace them. So what we're doing is when we came along for the development, we said, listen, we want to keep all of these vineyards because that's what we're talking about for our fire protection. So we've increased the unique farmland and two in the county. And then we've said, okay, on that site, we want to take a smaller piece to put a house because obviously the farmlands, because we want to be those houses amongst the vineyards. So that's why we have additional land that currently is chaparral and rock that we will remove and put into vineyards, and that's how we feel we can mitigate this on site. But again, as we go through the process, we just wanted to have a backup plan, you know.
Okay, thank you. I understand now.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I'll bring it back to the commission for further discussion or questioning. Yeah.
The applicant team would like to clarify one more thing, and we brought up a slide if that's amendable to the commission.
Okay.
Good morning, members of the Planning Commission. I'm Ryan Sawyer with Acorn Environmental. Our firm helped the county as the lead agency prepare the partially revised EIR, and then some of our staff, including myself, were involved in the original 2020 EIR preparation. So we're really familiar with the process and what the original document said and how the impacts have been revised by some of the project modifications. So this map here shows the designated farmland within the project site is mapped under the farmland mapping program by the Department of Conservation at the state level. So these are maps that are put out by the state. And they're based primarily, we believe, on aerial photography and understanding of the underlying soils. So between the 2020 EIR and the partially revised EIR, these maps were updated, and they showed more prime farm and unique farmland on the site than the original 2020 EIR had identified. However, when we looked at the footprint of the original project and we compared it to the footprint of the modified project, under these new maps, the balance of impacts was essentially zero. There was no change in the overall amount of important farmland that would be impacted. So I want to bring that up because issues associated with the 2020 EIR, they went through a legal challenge process. The appellate court upheld everything with the exception of wildfire risk and assessment. And so the issue of agricultural impacts was essentially upheld through that legal process, and the project modifications do not change those conclusions. So I want to mention that. And then a few commenters have indicated that the agricultural mitigation should be within the property. There's certainly opportunity for that. The mitigation does require within the 100-mile radius, as Jonathan was explaining, because there is a limited amount of mapped farmland by the state that could meet these mitigation requirements. And the impact really is to agricultural resources and not. So the other item I wanted to clarify is that the original EIR also indicated that impacts to agricultural land would be significant and unavoidable. This mitigation measure is just meant to reduce the severity of that impact. It acknowledges that on a net basis, there would be a loss of farmland. So we did acknowledge that as part of that process. One other question that came up during the public comments, and I wanted to thank all the members of the public that commented on the EIR and provided this feedback. It was really helpful. Was related to the timing and implementation of the improvements at Butts Canyon Road and State Route 29. So the original 2020 EIR included a mitigation that a roundabout would be installed at this location at the cost of the applicant, and that a funding agreement related to that improvement would be in place prior to the approval of grading permits. But it didn't tie the improvements to be in place with occupancy. However, under the partially revised EIR in the wildfire evacuation analysis, there is a new mitigation measure now that requires that the roundabout be installed prior to occupancy. So I did want to clarify the timing of that mitigation.
Thank you for those clarifications. Still bringing it back to the commission for further dialogue or discussion.
I'll go ahead. Go ahead, Sharon.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank the Gwinnett Valley Project for a fabulous tour that I had on Monday. Thank you to Kevin and Jonathan for providing a lovely venue for the tour. It was unfortunate, though, when Jonathan says vineyards, we knew English was not his first language. But, that's okay. Also, thank you to Randy, who drove us around. We couldn't have gotten around without his giant truck going up the hills, and Mike for his review of the safety, fire safety, and it was really amazing, and it was repeated here today. The infrastructure for the fire resiliency, to keep fire at bay. I said it wrong. Anyway, that was fabulous, and Thomas's report. And thank you for giving me the 10-page executive summary, because that made it really helpful. Kind of read that, and then I could find some of the backup in your report. So thank you for that. It really helped to get a clear picture. The presentation that you gave this morning, I hope to help other people see that. What you forgot to share is the list of jobs. We've talked a lot about the potential, the employment that will be available. The list on your whiteboard was phenomenal. Some of the jobs that were listed, I hadn't even thought of. That was excellent. So with that, one of the things that was mentioned was workforce development, and I don't know exactly how that happens. I mean, how that happens with you and with us, the county, with the educational entities, Lake County Office of Education and the 2 junior colleges. But this would be a wonderful opportunity. It used to be in California, in the high schools, there was a regional occupational program that was robust. I think that was last century, but I've been in education for a long time. Anyway, but to bring that back, and somebody mentioned college isn't for everybody. And that's absolutely true. In fact, if you're in the trades, you probably make more than you do as college graduate these days. So it can be written into our conditions of approval. Well, we all heard it here. So, so I do hope that comes to fruition, because one of the gentlemen talked about, his family staying here if there was more opportunities. And I think that the more opportunities for good, solid work is always important and essential. With the mitigation of the farmland, I think certainly within the 16,000 acres, you can find something that would work. You have a lot already in vineyard. I hope that your vineyard is part of the Lake County Wine Grape Commission. I don't know if you are or not. Be a good thing to join. Anyway, that's all I have for right now. Thank you.
Most of my concerns have been addressed, and I'm just thrilled. You're making it a lot easier for me. I just have a couple questions. I've been made aware that you have made several donations to community groups in Lake County. Can you just tell us to whom you've paid money and how much? Kevin? I think the Chamber of Commerce received a check. Hammers for Hope was mentioned.
I don't know if that's within the scope of what
that-
we're approving today.
I think
The
it's
project?
relevant because, well, I think I should defer to our attorney about that. I think it's relevant.
Your commission can take into consideration any evidence presented to you. You can weigh it as you see fit. If you think it is irrelevant information, then you can weigh it accordingly. And if you think it's relevant, you can state why it pertains to the findings that you're required to make in relation to the approval for today, and weigh it accordingly.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Jonathan Breen for the applicant. So all I can answer is back then, when there was through the Valley Fire, there had been money raised in order to rebuild and help people that went through that Valley Fire. They had raised millions, and there was a shortfall of $1 million, which I believe they needed by a certain time. And it was I believe the time was running short, and our project said, listen, we'll cover the balance so you can get all the rest of the funds in there. So that's been the main donation that we've ever made. We've hired people and locals as just consultants, but that was something that was very important for us to help and make sure that they secured all the other funding. And therefore then, by us giving the $1 million, it really capped everything off, and they were able to then utilize all those funds and invest and help all the people from those wildfires.
Okay, thank you. The reason I'm asking is I hear things in the community, and I want to hear it from the source.
Yeah.
I heard that donations were made to various community entities, and I'd just kind of like to know what they are.
Yeah, that's fine, and and again, it was public back then, so it wasn't anything. We don't go around boasting that we did this or that. We just
Well, this is your opportunity.
Well, it's and it was just something that was very important for us. Again, we do say it, and we put our money where our mouth is. We are coming into your community, and we want to fit into the community. And when there was things like that, it was very touching at that time, and people had been devastated. And so we had an opportunity to help, and we really wanted to do so. And so that's why we did it.
I heard also that you made a donation to the County Chamber of Commerce, or?
Yeah, you can address that one.
Kevin Case, and I'm with the applicant. We joined the Chamber of Commerce like anybody else would, and that was just probably 3 months ago. if it's a donation, we sponsored an event at the Greenview Golf Club that was asked of us. It wasn't a large, we were asked to sponsor that event, which is, we gladly did, and we'll continue to support sports programs. We've been to several auctions. We've donated money for auctions for South Lake Fire primarily, and for CAL FIRE and those fundraisers, and we'll continue to do that. We're very sensitive that everything is disclosed, everything's done in a very ethical and legal manner. So just, I want to go on record, we're not reckless at all with that. We're very, very calculated and do it the right way, but we're going to continue to help people that, when we can, that need it. So,
Thank you. So if we can just talk about fire evacuation strategies for a second. I am thrilled with this idea of refuges instead of evacuating people by plane and helicopter. I think that's really wise. The only thing I didn't hear about that is the timeline. Will those be constructed before occupancy? Okay, thank you. They're nodding. And I read a lot about shuttle buses. Are those still part of the plan, or? Okay, thank you. That's all my questions. I'm thrilled you're here, and this has really been a enlightening process for me. Thanks.
I guess I'll go next. Just would also like to disclose that I did take a tour of the project site on Wednesday, the 6th, 9 a.m., and met with the applicants. Did a tour, drove around the site, checked out different locations. We really hit hard mostly on, well, the reason I was there was to see about the fire mitigation and evacuation, because that was our main. So I tried to absorb as much of that information as I could, and most of my questions were satisfied with the tour and then the PowerPoints that we received about regarding the zone 0, 1, and 2, so around the properties, and having the pastures as or the polo fields as evacuation locations for even people from different communities to be able to bring their animals in there, because I do see that as one of the biggest issues, that some people don't even have the trailers for their animals, some do, and then being able to put them on a safe location would reduce the amount of traffic, I think, on when an evacuation is going on. So the applicants being able to offer those fields as potential locations for evacuees, I think is just helping the whole issue that we had concerning evacuation times and evacuation routes, to be able to have those refugee spots on the property, because sometimes you don't want to have pushing more people out, more vehicles on the road that can impact people that actually need to evacuate. So thank you for the tour and for letting me being able to actually see the project on in person. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I also wanted to disclose that I took a site visit on 8/5 on Tuesday, and the site visit really helped me get a sense and scale of where everything's going to be, what it's going to look like, to look into the future, to see how the land's going to be used. And I was really impressed with the openness and the dialogue. One of the things I shared that was important, and again, I love the safe zones and the areas where you can pull off. In the 2017 Sulphur Fire, there was an incident in my community where we were enclosed in our community because of the fire, and we actually had to go into a part of our community that was wetlands, and we stayed there for about an hour before we actually got to evacuate our community. And so when I heard that, it made sense, and then getting to look at it in the plans, there are many opportunities to reduce the potential impacts of loss of life during an event of a wildfire, and that's critical. One of the things I keep hearing over and over, which is of importance to me too, is the opportunity that it brings to our community. One of the things that happens, and it's been mentioned here many times, and I've heard it many times in the community from our younger youth and young adult population is that there's nowhere for them here. And this provides opportunities, again, for our people to stay local residents, the community to continue to be here. And as a tribal community, we're very dependent on our youth. And I feel all of our community benefits when we have a healthy youth population. And so that's something to think about when I'm thinking big picture about what this is going to look like in the future, long after, I'm gone. And so I always want to be thoughtful and intentional in my thought process, and always think about the next generations that come before me. In our community, we say the 7 generations that come after us. And with that in mind, I feel like this project can support many things in Lake County. The concerns I had with evacuation, wildfire were greatly reduced by looking at the lay of the land, looking at design, looking at all the opportunities to refuge on site, all the options that are available, which I haven't seen before. And so as far as the project and the team, it was an amazing job. It was quite a bit of work to get through all the information and to understand it and to look at it. But it was well worth the time and to see the plans. Everything I feel like was accounted for. Of course, there's going to be things that we might have individually in certain areas that we want addressed a little bit more to our liking, but I feel like the applicant did a great job with this project to address all the concerns. And so I'm thankful for the opportunity to go to the site. I did get a chance to go by a few of the cultural sites. I didn't go into those cultural sites. But again, the preservation of the land is critical, is important. And I think as we move forward, as a tribal person, again, I love to hear the dialogue around preservation or preserving our local history. And we have so much to be proud of here in Lake County with the tribal community, with the early newcomers to this land. There's so much of wealth of history here that goes unrepresented and unnoticed. And I think this is an opportunity to really showcase that. And so I see a lot of congruency in what's happening. And so I definitely am ready to hear any more additional comments that we have and then take action.
Hello, thank you all for being here today. So I guess it's my turn. So I did want to disclose also that I met with the developers and with Chief Mike Wink yesterday evening. And there was a couple of questions that I had for Mike, and one of them was basically just asking him what the general impact was of this project on South Lake County Fire, should this project be approved. I had found out I was happy to be able to meet with Mike only because I found out he wasn't going to be here today, so I couldn't pose this question to him today in front of everyone and the public. So I did want to share this information. So in part 2 of that question was, what was the impact for the community? Mike said that basically the project is funding a fully serviced station and equipment. The impact to the community is that the Gwinnett Valley Fire Station will become part of a regional system stationed at the development site, and the station will also be of service and assistance to surrounding stations, including Pope Valley and Napa, as well as Hidden Valley Lake, Cobb, and Middletown. So the project impact fees will stay here, and we'll have another fully staffed station. And I believe Kevin Case had added on that basically the project developer owns the assets and CAL FIRE will operate it. Another question I had for Mike was, what are your thoughts on the temporary refuge areas, the TRAs that have been discussed? So we had a little discussion about that, and again, that they would serve a good purpose in the event of an emergency, giving responders, first responders, time to assess a situation, to perhaps ease the traffic flow on the roads and keep people safe. We also briefly discussed the air evacuations, and that while that remains opportunity or an option for removing people from the site, it is unlikely to happen, because there was, I guess, some question about, you know, how many people can you get off, you know, into flight and off the site, how quickly, in regard, that is a option that can be used in addition to other things, and it would, let's hope, that it would be unlikely that you would need to move mass numbers of people via flight, that it would be in small increments. In regard to Grange Road, we also discussed that. And that's a question that I have for the county, given that this is now going to become an access route for the project. It was unclear exactly how much of Grange Road is within the county maintained system, and I guess I would like to make a statement that if in fact we as a county are going to support great economic opportunities such as this, that we do need to take a look at our road systems and take care of them so that they can be functionable. So other things that we discussed, Jonathan and Kevin Case had shared with me the little video clip. We discussed the Middletown housing project, and so I'm going to get to that in just a moment. We asked, I asked their thoughts also about, in regard to the Attorney General letter. And with that, that's kind of my site visit, but I would like to talk a little bit more about the housing project and the Attorney General letter. As we know, this project is before this Planning Commission because of a lawsuit that was previously filed. Given all the work, and I think many of you have seen, and I know as planning commissioners have struggled through the massive amounts of paperwork and reading all of the documents, we would like this project to go through. So we preferred it not to end up in a court case again. So with that said, our job, and again, I applaud our chair for leading us in the discussion of postponing our last meeting so that we would have time to more thoroughly investigate, to read the materials, and to do site visits so that we can do our job and our due diligence with moving this project forward. On the other hand, the lawsuit also provided the opportunity for this project to be heard again. And while we are primarily focusing on the fire aspect and the items that were of issue or challenged within the lawsuit, it would be, as a longtime Middletown resident, as a resident who has participated in the creation of the general plan and the current Middletown area plan, I would not be able to move forward without talking a little bit more about the housing, the off-site housing project in Middletown. We've heard a lot of wonderful things about the project that's happening out at the Gwinnett Valley. So, and some of those words include sense of place. Middletown has a sense of place and has a character. In our Middletown area plan, it speaks to this, and we have design elements in there. We have information that kind of dictates as far as on what our housing, what our downtown area, what our Middletown community should look like, and what it should provide for the community. So with that, I do have some concerns about the housing. Again, this is something that Jonathan and Kevin and I had briefly discussed. They know my position on it, that I would prefer not to see the change in density. I have concerns as presented, and I guess this is a question that I have for staff, at what we can do from here forward, looking at the design of those housing units. This, if anybody else has followed, our Board of Supervisors just recently reviewed the housing implementation plan and program. Both in that and also in our Middletown area plan, it states that basically housing is suggested in the category of 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom houses. And that on average, there is, I think the Middletown area plan currently states 2.56 people within a house. The plan, the housing implementation program, HAIP, that was just brought before the Board of Supervisors, looks at from now until 2047, and the projections there are 2.39 people per house. So I have to question why we are proposing 4 and 5-bedroom units. And I'd very much like to see that in conformity with the current Middletown area plan, with this new housing implementation plan, and with the general plan. And to that point too, I'm going to bring up that in the project summary that we have before us, we of course have the Middletown area plan site, the housing site, is at 12.75 acres. The general plan designation for this location is low-density residential and resource conservation. The zoning in the Middletown area plan is R1 single-family residential, and it has a good portion of it located in the floodway fringe combining area, the floodway combining, and waterway combining. So in and of itself, of that 12.75 acres, there is a limited portion of that parcel that can actually be successfully built on without putting people in harm's way and or spending a lot of money construction-wise to provide housing in that area that would be safe. So with that said, I have some concerns, and I guess I would like some reassurances that although it's written in as the description of this housing project is written as 4 and 5 bedroom houses, to the quantity, anyway, I'd like some reassurances that we can work with that, and that we can indeed make Middletown also continue with a sense of place, as opposed to just using it as, and I'm not even clear exactly on what the definition of workforce housing is on the county level and or from the applicant, but I'd like that workforce housing to actually reflect the character of Middletown as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Rosenthal, for that staff-related question. I'd be happy to just go over that particular aspect of the project in regards to the general plan, local area plan, and housing action and implementation plan. As Commissioner Rosenthal stated previously, the current land use designation is low-density residential with a zoning district of single-family residential. This particular parcel was already approved for a subdivision with the same number of units that we're looking at in this one. In 2006, the Planning Commission at that time found that it was consistent with the general plan and local area plan. But that subdivision expired because it came right around 2006, and as the Commission knows, 2008 is when we saw a number of our previously approved subdivisions kind of falter and not move forward. The floodway and floodway fringe and waterway areas are there due to the creek that runs alongside part of that parcel. And in order to address that, the subdivision map will include the base flood elevations that are going to be required in order to ensure that development will be done safely. With its current zoning district, and the fact that it is within the community growth boundary, which is where you'll find your not only low-density residential, but also opportunities for your medium and high-density residential due to its close proximity to the town, as well as its access to municipal water and sewer. It would allow, without any change, subdivision of, what was it, 93 parcels? Is that 93 units, I think? I didn't write it down from last time, but it would allow for subdivision of 6,000 square foot minimum parcel size. And so the proposed development is significantly less than what could have been designed and proposed that would still be consistent with the low density residential. But a portion of this project, or of this parcel, has been proposed to be changed to medium density residential to allow for the duplex design. We have no problem with making sure that the design guidelines fit the Middletown area plan. In fact, they've been reviewed for that. Let's see, is there anything else I haven't addressed? I think that's what we've got. The way that this project does speak to the HAPE is the recognition of, as not only as the county grows in the future, but also recognizing the significant loss of housing resulting from the Valley Fire in the Middletown area. It does address a strong need for, I think it was an estimated 5,000 units of housing countywide, not just Middletown, but countywide during the next housing or next general plan lifetime period. And this is a need for housing that spans all economic levels. So all different types of housing, not just the workforce housing or the affordable housing, but all the way up into all economic levels, moderate and above moderate levels. So the fact that this focuses on workforce housing is really powerful because we don't see that very much. You know, we've got our farm worker housing for ag. We don't usually see a lot of workforce housing addressing an incoming need, like is apparent with this one. And so that workforce housing would not necessarily be someplace for a family to come in and live there for 20 years. It would be more directly related to the employment that we bring in, that is either from locals or from people who are moving to Lake County because they want a job. Wouldn't that be fun? That'd be a twist. It'd give us some variety on what's normal for Lake County. But the off-site housing as well as the future on-site workforce housing would both go to address the anticipated need for employment to support the resort. I'm going to jump off my soapbox and let me know if there's anything that you had questions about that have not yet been addressed. We do not have concerns regarding the flood danger because that is normally integrated and taken care of as far as part of our subdivision ordinance and the Subdivision Map Act requirements. Thank you.
Is there a definition for workforce housing?
I bet there is. And if you want to take a
Where?
break, I'd be happy to find it, but I don't have it written down in front of me.
I can comment on this a little bit. I've had to do inspections for farm labor housing before, and the standards are pretty minimal. But I've been going back and forth on this issue. We had a member of the public very concerned about changing Middletown into a different feeling place. And that is balanced with the idea of restricting urban sprawl. So at this point, I'm leaning toward agreeing that we should rezone a parcel that's in town rather than spread out over the beautiful scenery. I also have one other thing to say unrelated. I forgot to disclose that I also met with Mike Wink after our last meeting. We talked about a lot of things that were already mentioned. But the one thing that I didn't hear that I thought was very important was I was very concerned about the evacuation route. And Mr. Wink told me that Butts Canyon Road does meet state code. And he also explained to me, I mean, I was very concerned because somebody spoke last meeting about being stuck in traffic, trying to escape the fire. And he told me that what had happened was people were stopping at a stoplight in Lower Lake. And a roundabout will solve that problem. I don't know, I'm not in a position intellectually to analyze the numbers and figure out whether it will solve the whole problem, but it answered that particular concern that was expressed at the last meeting.
Go ahead.
If you would like to come to the podium, you can answer the question.
Before you do that, I just have a question. Go ahead, but maybe around that, when you have employee housing, and I believe I asked this last time, and certainly after the two housing reports were presented to the Board of Supervisors in the last couple of weeks, one of the concerns is to have housing for a variety of income levels, and that being low income. And so would some of this housing that's going to be built have some of those opportunities? And I believe somebody asked a question earlier today about would there be affordable for various income level groups. Okay. And as I recall, the answer was it was going to be market value. So I just wondered, with some of the reports that have come to the county addressing housing, is that something that can be part of, you know, a part of the plan? And I know that's off-site housing, and there is also on-site housing, which would be part of whatever, you know, whatever the applicant wants to do. But off-site housing, just didn't know if that was something that was available. So I don't know if that was part of what you were asking, maybe.
Commissioner Rosenthal, if you wanted to restate your question, perhaps, in case. Okay.
Yeah, again, Jonathan Breen for the applicant. So just to answer the question, the Middletown housing, you know, we could have, yes, we have 16,000 acres. We could have put the staff housing on site. But one of the things that if we put ourselves in the shoes of the people that are working at the project, you don't want to work and live in the same environment. Okay, you want to leave and go into town. We loved Middletown, and we felt that by putting our workers, and there was a comment previously, these were going to be construction workers. I'll be on record that they are not construction workers. Our construction workers camps are on site, close to where the work is, because they are up very early in the mornings, and we wanted them close to be able to get to the job sites. So these are for operations people. They'll be in their 20s and 30s. They're what we feel great members and future members of the community of Middletown. If you go up and down Middletown, there's a lot of vacancies. So what we thought, maybe we were wrong, but we thought by having an injection of younger people coming, they'll go in there for a coffee, for some lunch or dinner. They will spend money in the community and will help locals with jobs and be able to also create businesses which should flourish. To your point, if the design of it, again, we can design it however we want. It's not set in stone. So I could again go on record that we will work with the community where we all come up with a design that is in keeping with Middletown. So you don't need to be concerned that if you don't like what you see today, we are definitely open to work together to make sure at the end of the day, this is for, you know, that everyone's happy with what ends up getting developed there. We've also had, Angela had a question else who called in. You know, again, is there a way that we can make you know, essential workers, school teachers, because I know a lot of times some school teachers leave and move because they can get better salaries. So it's something, again, I can't sit here today because I would need to sit and go back with our team. But again, it's something that we would like to help essential workers in the community as well as our workers to provide housing. It doesn't need to be market rate. We can work through that, and just so it can maybe cover its cost, because at the end of the day, we would like to help essential workers in this community as well as our workers. Reason why we've doing this is obviously we didn't want to put a pressure on the housing. If we're bringing in people to work, whether they're local and wanting to move into Middletown, or whether some were coming from outside, the last thing we wanted to do was put pressure on the currently tight housing market, and then suddenly you've got people and the rents are rising. So that's really why we built it, and we're wanting to build it in the first place. So I just wanted to clarify those questions that you had.
Okay, so, so my problem is not with the housing in Middletown. I think it's great to have the housing in Middletown. Yes, as in our discussion yesterday evening, as I said, if you ask the question to Middletown, almost any community in Lake County, if you say, do we need more housing? Yes, we need more housing. Please bring more housing. We've all been waiting since the fire for the apartments to get built, to get rebuilt. But what this housing, I believe that Don Smith had spoke also about health and the well-being of the community. And so the health and the well-being, much like everything that we have heard and everything that is presented, everything that's in the planning, the site plans and stuff for the project out in Gwinoc is absolutely gorgeous, that people are gonna come here, feel good, the community is gonna feel good about it, everything about it is fabulous. And makes you feel vibrant. What I want is that housing in Middletown to do the same for the people within the community. I want that vibrancy. So, but to put people in a house that is less than 1,300 square feet, and by the way, I've lived in a house that was 1,400 square feet with 4 bedrooms. I know what that size feels like and looks like. I don't want people, or that's not the kind of housing that brings that vibrancy to the area, is 5 bedrooms in less than 1,300 square feet and 4 bedrooms in less than 1,000 square feet. That's my issue. So yes, I love the fact that you want to bring housing to Middletown, that we want to improve and provide housing. That's my concern. And I also, much like I think you used the word too, out at the resort, you're not going to have cookie cutter hotels. You want to bring in and let people feel the culture and be part of it. Same thing with that housing. I have to go on record to say, as our Middletown area plan states, no cookie cutter housing. So.
Yeah, and again, I think we would definitely work together. I agree with you that when you train staff over many years and you lose staff, it's very costly for a business. And so we've always wanted to have happy staff. I want young kids coming in who meet other people, get married, have families, and so it's about the environment they live in. We had a lot of parks, we had a lot of recreation within the Middletown. There was a lot of open green space. Again, trying to make it where it was a beautiful community that you could go. So I'm definitely happy to sit down and work through the plan. So both from the size and the buildings and the design to make sure that it fits within Middletown and it's good for our staff. We even talked to Lisa Kaplan about maybe bringing in a younger audience and helping us with it. The younger people that would live here in these buildings, what do they want? Because again, what we all want at our age is different to what the younger generation wants. So we want to, as part of this process, bring in some of the younger people that will want to be living there and to sort of come up with a design that fits in with Middletown, but also fits with the people that's going to be living there.
And then, as you know, we discussed last night also is the density of the property itself.
Yep.
So, and because the permit goes with the property, as I expressed, or whatever, that is a concern also, that you change the zoning on it from R1 to R2, and it's only 3.5 acres that we're talking about changing to R2, but nonetheless, it is a change.
Yep.
In an area that is located on the border of the community growth boundary. And I know our information says differently, but if you go out there, and I know you've been out to the site as well, and anybody else who is familiar with Middletown, is that on the other side of that creek, there are 1 acre parcels. It's a grid of 1 acre housing development there. So that's borders on one side. Another side is open space. And then you have the parcels that sit in front of it that, again, are zoned R1 as well, that have a single residence on it, and they're a rather large parcel. They could be built out to more. But but those folks decide, they like having their single home there in that location. Anyway, so it's the surrounding community around this housing really screams for low density, as is the designation in the general plan. So in the general plan is our constitution.
Yeah.
The Middletown area plan then changed it to a zoning of R1. But the general plan has low density, more of a suburban residential feel. So with that, that's.
Yeah, and again, to Mariah's point, it is zoned for 93, we're doing 49. But again, I will say that we are very happy to work moving forward. I believe it has to come back through planning and supervisor vote. So again, it's something that we want to make sure the last thing we want is to build something that everyone hates and it's going to create tension. So it's just not worth anyone's, interest. So again, working together and whatever we create there, it's going to have to be a win-win for everyone.
Chair Chavez, I did receive multiple offers of definitions of workforce housing. Let's take the one from the California State Association of Counties Finance Corporation. Workforce housing is housing for individuals and families typically earning between 60% and 120% AMI, which is the area median income. So somewhere between a little over half the area median to 120%. It is also known as middle income or moderate income housing. Workforce housing can refer to any form of housing, including ownership of single or multifamily homes, as well as occupation of rental units. It is generally understood to mean affordable housing for households with earned income that is insufficient to secure quality housing in reasonable proximity to the workplace. Thank you.
Thank you for the definition. I think the person that asked the question left. Oh, that was your question? Okay. All right. Are there any further comments from the commission? Or further discussion on any issues?
Where did Miley go?
Miley actually had an appointment, so we'll just make note in the minutes that Commissioner Field was absent at 11:18.
Okay. So I would like to request a break at some point.
We can take a 5-minute break. It's 11:20. We'll be back at 11:25.
I know.
If we could all take our seats, please. I just wanted to try to save welcome back, everyone. The 5 minutes went by really quickly. That we still have one of the commissioners missing, but I'm sure she'll be in any second now. Before we, I think she's checking in on her. Oh, okay. I thought you were checking in on. All right. Yeah. So I guess we'll just give a couple more minutes for Commissioner Rosenthal to return to her seat. Seeing as the time, like I said, it was really short, but yeah, she'll come in any second now. There she is.
Chair, is it okay if I ask a question?
Yes, we're back.
Okay, I had one question I noticed in my notes as we were taking a break is on page 6 of the Attorney General letter that was received on 7/25, at the bottom paragraph, it mentions a dead end and looped roads. And again, this is in the interest of, I'd like to make sure that all of our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted. But anyway, it refers to the Board of Forestry fire safe standards that limit the length of dead-end roads and looped roads to 1 mile. So, and I just wanted to make sure that that was true on this project and all the changes that have been made.
Those are included in the modifications to this project, but I would defer to Ryan and Annalee for more details.
Yes, so those are part of the project modifications that were incorporated from the 2020 project to now with the resulting of the state's adoption of the new minimum fire safe regulation. So those are the legal requirement, and so that is part of why the project had to have its road network redesigned, and that was adequately incorporated.
Thank you. And then my closing comments in regard to the housing is a couple things. Is number one, I really don't like the consideration of it being tossed out that there could be 91 or 93 units on the property versus the 50 that's being presented. If that were true, if that was economically feasible, I'm sure that that would have happened on the project at some point. It's, I don't see that as economically feasible on this project, nor would it be accepted by the community should that come around. And then the other thing with the project, with that particular rezoning of the parcel, a project that was submitted in 2006 that went through at a height of development, and there was like lots of pressure for development at that time. We had so many projects in the hopper, and none of them happened. So yeah, none of them happened. And so that project, just because we approved a project in 2006, I can't necessarily say that we approved it correctly. So, and I wasn't seated on the Planning Commission at that time, but I do know the commissioners that were there. But it's just because we did it once doesn't necessarily mean it was right and that we should do it again. So with that said, I guess I would turn to my fellow commissioners and see if anybody else has questions.
I just have one question on the availability of the fabulous facilities that are going to be put in there. It's a gated community, and
I don't think so. Is it gated?
well, Yeah, maybe you can help clarify that for me. That, maybe, I'm asking that question. It's a gated community, that's a question mark on that. My understanding from my conversations is that the HOA would then have purvey over the various facilities. Is that correct? Whether they were available to the public as compared to the village area that is being built out. So, for instance, would the golf course be available if I just showed up with my golf clubs, which would be shocking, and wanted to play around, or is it like a country club, I would buy a membership, or is it just available for those who have purchased residence in the project?
Yeah, Jonathan Breen for the applicant. So the village itself, which is the main heart and soul, is open to the public. We have an area in there where we have hotel rooms, and we have a residence club where the residents can come and use, and the hotel guests. But the whole rest of the farmers market, the restaurants, coffee shops, the whole other village is open to the public. The winery open to the public. And then as you get further out, where the residential sit, that's a bit like Hidden Valley, where that's open to that's really just for the residencies, for security. So the golf course and the polo fields sit in that zone. And that's really that zone. The residents pay their HOA fees to maintain the golf course, maintain the polo. And so as a developer, we actually hand it over to the HOA down the track. So that's really for the owners. But the whole main core of the project, which is the village on the lake, that will always remain open to the public.
Perfect, okay.
Okay.
Thank you, we just need that clarification.
Yep.
I don't think I have any further comments other than, well, I guess I do have a comment. Speaking about the off-site housing, I think as a population, we've always been increasing, so the need for having more housing is always a need, especially here in Lake County. So I don't see that part of the project as an issue, especially having the developers, wanting to work out what would be best for the community in itself. So whether it be, doing the full build out or just doing, making it more comfortable by doing less. So I think having that option is great, that the community will have an input in what that would look like. But also, regardless of whether it was part of this project or not, I think we need more housing in general. So, and then if it was somebody else taking it on, they would maximize, I think, the use of the property to where it would be like more condensed. And that's kind of where I see the plus in having the developers today here working with the community or showing that they are willing to work with the community in that sense, in building that off-site housing. So that's kind of like the only comment that from my observations and what I've seen and heard today. And other than that, I don't have any more comments, and I'm looking for discussions.
Yeah, I have no further.
So with that, I am pleased to be able to read the following motions. I hereby move that the Planning Commission certify the final EIR consisting of the 2020 draft and final environmental impact reports, 2020 final EIR errata, July 2024 draft PREIR, March 2025 draft, bear with me, March 2025 draft PREIR, July 2025 final PREIR, and all the appendices thereto and supporting information, and adopt the accompanying CEQA findings of fact, statement of overriding considerations, and mitigation monitoring and reporting program, EIR 24-01, pursuant to the requirements of the California Environmental Quality Act for the Gwinnett Valley Mixed-Use Plan Development Project on property located at Jerusalem Grade Road, Oat Hill Road, Gwinoc Valley Road, Bond Valley Road, Butts Canyon Road, Santa Clara Road, Grange Road, State Highway 29, and is more fully described in the staff report dated July 24, 2005, July 31st, 2005, and August 8th, 2025.
I think we have different versions.
Yes, we do have different versions.
Are we using the one
I
that
have a
was
version that was handed to me by,
today?
yes.
Okay.
Today's report is my understanding, is a supplement, so there would be at least two, one for the last meeting, one for this one.
What?
The last thing to clarify is, there was a couple set of recommendations between the two staff reports. They are both correct, but we liked the way that one was worded, for the EIR, and then the remainder of them are gonna be from the, staff report that was uploaded for today's meeting as the
So,
memo.
as amended.
So if there's slightly different wording, that is why, but the actions are the same.
Okay, very well. Just making sure.
Does that need a second? Oh,
Got a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? None. And one absent.
Okay.
Motion passes.
I move that the Planning Commission adopt the use permit, no, wait a sec. I hereby move. Am I reading the first line? I got two different things here. So I got this line here. And then I go to here.
Yep, so now we're scooching over here.
Approve.
Yep.
Okay.
So this replaced that. That's what happened. The rest of them will just be.
Right, well, I read that, but I guess my question is, do I read this first line, which is different, and this first line?
I will go.
This? Okay,
Yep, so the rest of them will be
here, this,
starting
this.
actually here.
I just did that one.
This
Oh,
was
no,
for the
I'm sorry.
EIR.
I
Yeah.
got it,
Yeah, we
okay.
scooched one over.
Perfect, okay, sorry. Okay. All right. I move that the Planning Commission adopt the use permit PL-25-112, UP 24-05 as amended for the Gwinoc Valley site conditioned upon approval of the general plan amendments, GPAP 24-01 and 24-02, and a zoning ordinance amendment, AM 24-01, by the Board of Supervisors to permit the permit adopted today, or approved. Does that say approved or adopted? Okay, the permit approved today for the general plan and specific plan of development shall be of no force or effect until the Board of Supervisors approve the general plan and zoning amendments as recommended by this commission.
second?
Got a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None and one absent.
Okay.
Motion passes.
I move that the Planning Commission approve the use permit PL-25-112, UP 24-08, for the Middletown housing site, conditioned upon approval of the zoning amendment RZ 24-02 by the Board of Supervisors. The permit approved today shall be of no force or effect until the Board of Supervisors approves the zoning amendment as recommended by the commission.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
3 in favor, 1 opposed, and could you oppose when you make a motion?
Yes.
Okay. 3 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 absent. The motion passes.
I move that the Planning Commission recommend the Board of Supervisors adopt an ordinance rezoning the Gwinnett Valley site parcels to a Gwinnett Valley specific district, adding a new chapter to the zoning code pertaining to development in that district and specifying design guidelines for future development in that district.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None, and one absent. Motion passes.
All right. I move that the Planning Commission recommend the Board of Supervisors approve a general plan amendment, rezone, general plan of development, specific plan of development, and development agreement with the findings as presented in the staff report today.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None, and one absent. Motion passes.
And there is one more motion to be read. I'll hand that over to our chair, if you don't mind.
The last two?
Yeah, number 6, I'm sorry. I think there's just one.
6.
Oh, is there 7 too?
Could I make a motion? I think I would have to.
Oh.
I don't think I can make a motion.
Sharon.
For the chair to make a motion, you'd have to vacate the chair temporarily,
Sharon.
which you could. You can, however, remain in the chair and make a second, and second a motion.
Okay, 6. I move the Planning Commission recommend the Board of Supervisors approve a rezone of the interior portion of the Santa Clara site from single-family R1 to two-family residence R2, subject to the attached findings. Attached findings. Attached findings. That's it.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
Is there 7?
That's a 2 noes.
2-2.
A tied vote is an automatic denial, and under Article 60, it is an automatic appeal to the Board of Supervisors.
Motion does not pass.
Okay, 7 is the last one.
Yes.
Move the Planning Commission approve the use permit to allow for the community clubhouse at the Santa Clara site.
Mike's up.
Mike.
Oh, what, you couldn't hear me? Move the Planning Commission approve the use permit to allow for a community clubhouse at the Santa Clara site.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. 4 ayes and 1 absent. Okay, because in my version, I have other sample motions that are in here, but I'll just skip to the note.
We went with the wording and the recommendations over the sample motions. So yeah, those are just superfluous.
Note, the applicant or any interested person is reminded that the zoning ordinance provides a 7-day calendar day appeal period. If there is a disagreement with the Planning Commission's decision, an appeal to the Board of Supervisors may be filed. The appropriate forms and applicable fee must be submitted prior to 5 p.m. on or before the 7th calendar day following the Planning Commission's final determination. Very well. All right. Thank you. And moving on to, my paper got cut. Non-timed items. And staff update, right? Okay. Non-timed items, I don't think we have any. And Director, if we have a staff update.
We have no staff update today.
That leaves with the meeting adjourned at 11:46.